This is the Thriving LDS Singles Sisters Podcast. Hi, everybody. This is Kay from Thriving LDS Singles, and we have Kim with us today, my co-host. And today we're interviewing Connie. And Connie is, well, I'll just read you her bio because it's impressive. So Connie is a national speaker, best-selling author, TV and podcast personality, and mother of 7. She's a regular contributor to Studio 5 with Brooke Walker and is a podcast host of Called to Create. She's the founder of Disciple Through Leaders, and through leadership retreats, she teaches women to find their purpose and fulfilled it as an influential speakers, writers, and media presence for him. Ms. Sokol is Vice President of the National Speakers Association for the Mountain West chapter. She also marinates in time spent with her family and eating decadent treats. Sounds good. So welcome, Connie. It's wonderful to be here. And I believe that you and Kim have actually quite well know each other. So go, Kim.
Yeah, well, I want her to tell us more, but I do want to say that I'm in her group, the Disciple Thought Leaders, and she is an amazing coach and mentor. And I'm going to get choked up because I really love her. So she's been very fantastic in mentoring me in all kinds of areas, in writing my book and in speaking and creating courses and just in general being a disciple of Christ. So she's an amazing woman, and she is going to be one of the speakers at the BYU Life After Divorce Conference. And so we are super excited about that. I'm going to be there. I can't wait to hear her speak. And maybe she'll give us a few little tidbits of what she's going to share with everybody while she's on the podcast. And so that kind of leads me into the one thing that we didn't cover in your bio is that you are single. So maybe just tell us a little bit about that. How long have you been single, and share some of that with us?
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me on and for that sweet introduction. That's so sweet, Kim. It goes right 2 ways. So sweet. I just love working with you. So it's so funny to be on this side of the microphone. It's just so fun. So I have been single for about 6 years and divorced after 25 years of marriage. And I've been able to move this forward, this passion and purpose that I have on helping women really find and then fulfill their purpose and doing it for him, whatever it is. I have so many different women doing a variety of things, healing families through generational gardening, or they're being able to help underserved women in the community by helping women learn how to use power tools and go in and fix up their space. It's just been incredible. I've been doing this in some fashion for about 30 years and speaking, and I've written, not to be like annoying, but I've written 18 books and things like that, and doing podcasts and writing for Deseret News and blah, blah, blah. And it was so interesting because it just seemed like Heavenly Father was like plugging me in and out. And then when things would start getting successful, he would just pull me out. And I was like, what are you doing? And then a few years ago, I just got this download that I want you to start train the trainers. I want you to start teaching women in a more intimate way, like really training these trainers. And that's when I started doing the retreats and the leadership program. And so the last 6 years have been honestly so joyful. And I know that's probably not the usual that you hear. And you're probably looking for a deep story of, we crossed the plains and whatever. It's been pure joy. I have loved it. It's been this sense of freedom and being able to help women in the way that I've wanted to, and being able to help them to see themselves the way that God may see them, and being able to get their divine downloads, and then having the confidence and the courage and being supported and helping themselves move forward in the way that they wanted to, and partnering with the Lord. So for me, it's been single, but it was so funny. I was just saying to a friend, yesterday was Valentine's Day, and I was like, partway through the day, like somebody said something. I went, oh my gosh, I'm single. That's right. It was just so funny. It was just not that kind of day. It was a wonderful day. I felt loved, and right from the get-go, from the morning all the way through the evening, it was just lovely. And it's not always that way. And I don't want to come off like butterflies and ponies, but I think there's so many things that we can do as singles that can make this time just a time of flourishing and becoming that we will never get again. And that's just really right from my core. I'm sure you can't feel that at all, that I feel that passionate way about it. But anyway, so that's my story. I have 7 kids, and I have just 2 at home now. One is just popping in from college and then heading out. So I really just have my 11-year-old, my caboose, at home. So things have shifted for us over the last 6 years.
Yeah. And that's exactly what we want to hear, because that's the reason we started this podcast, is to really inspire people after going through hard things, whether they're widowed or divorced, and going into those next stages of life, that we really can thrive and be huge contributors in the world. And so we love hearing that story and that you are feeling that. So
Thank you.
yeah.
So we've found that being in a church like the LDS Church, it's a very family orientated church. And so a lot of people are feeling like they don't quite belong when they become single. And so what challenges have you found, and how do you overcome that?
In the church, I just think that's so sweet that you're asking that, because I feel like there's a lot of different facets of people in the church that feel like they don't fit in, and whatever that facet might be for them. And widow, even though it says take care of the widows, right? They still feel a little bit of that, okay, I don't necessarily fit in. But what I have found, honestly, I know there's a lot of horror stories out there. I really do. And I am so sorry for anyone or everyone who have gone through that, when it's just like salt in the wound, right? You're just like, really? And now I've got this to deal with. I will say I have had very supportive leaders, and not in certain times, but afterwards, different people that came in and leadership and things like that. I've had such wonderful people, and even been called to gospel doctrine as a divorced person. I know there was a couple people in the ward, those older people, who were giving me the eyebrow. Like, I can't teach church doctrine because I'm divorced. And so it's just some of those things that you just have to wink at, and you smile and you go, it's okay. And then you just keep moving forward. I found my row when my kids aren't with me, that there's a couple of other single ladies. Oh, single ladies. And there's these women who are going through difficult times, and some of them are like 65 and some of them are 55. And it's just all these different things. And we found this little camaraderie pew. We should probably start like charging for it. Like, hey, it's our pew, like the Protestants do. But anyway, we found our way. And again, I don't want to sound Pollyanna, but really, this could be anyone. And I think it's so much about what you make of it. I could be so depressed when my kids aren't with me and I'm by myself, and I could feel so single, but you don't have to. And I think that's one of the big tools to use in singlehood, is to stop looking through a single lens. I rarely remember that I'm single. And maybe some of it may be because I felt so single in my marriage for so long that it wasn't really that different when I got divorced. Honestly, I was just still doing all the things and whatever. But there was such a sense of freedom, like I could do it without any other stressors and things like that. I really believe that when you stop saying and labeling yourself as single, and do what President Nelson said, which is, I'm a disciple of Jesus Christ, I'm a child of God, those kind of definers and identifiers, those are what help you remember, I have a purpose here. And I know Kim's probably going to kick me metaphorically under the table, but every time I talk about something, I'm talking about purpose, because purpose really does change everything. And I think for singlehood, when you look at your life and instead of saying, oh, now I'm single and my life is so different, you say, okay, I've got a purpose to fulfill here. How do I do it now as a single person? And then you start seeing all the benefits of, oh my goodness, I have more say in how I go about this. And I can gauge my own time, and I can be the controller of that more than I was before. And yes, there's lots of other things, sure. And I'm not going to even go down those roads. What I'm saying is, it really is a mindset, in my opinion.
So Connie, I want to ask you about that, because I know you have some great tools and things about finding your purpose, but that is one thing many of the single people didn't ever expect to be single, or don't feel like it was part of their purpose. Their purpose was to live a happy, complete married life, or have their spouse with them till they were much older and things like that. Or maybe they're single and have never gotten married and don't feel like they're fulfilling their purpose. So do you have any good thoughts or insights on that? Because you do have to make a turn.
Oh, yes. And it is a shift. And I think of it like a car. You're just shifting into another gear. It's not like there's something wrong with the car, right? You just are shifting in a different gear. And I think there is that time and lots of pulses of that, of acceptance of that. There have been days where I just looked at my older daughter and I just said, man, it stinks to be single today, right? That's when the water heater is going out and the car isn't going, and your daughter just got in an accident, like a fender bender thing, and you got to run over here. It's all the things. And you're like, I don't have any family here in this state at all. And so it really does. There's some days that just feel so single. And I'm not negating that reality at all. And I really, again, I am an optimist, but I don't want to come off like a Pollyanna because there have been hard times. I'll tell you what, I live up in the mountains, and when that snow comes last year, about did me in plowing that driveway like times a week. But then honestly, I thought about President Nelson, and you guys are seriously probably going to go, oh, I'm going to roll my eyes at this gal. But I thought about President Nelson, and he would say to Wendy, this was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, like he's 90 something. He's, I'm going to go play in the snow. And he goes and plows people's driveway. It really is, how are you going to show up for this? Because showing up as, look what's been done to me, and this is awful, and I hate it, is not going to do you or your kids or anyone else any good. And it's not going to attract, it's not going to bring you this environment of warmth and joy and progression and all the things. So I don't know. That's my thought. That's my 2 cents on it, is just being able to accept that. Is hate it. Have a Friday night where you're like, man, really? I'm binge watching Netflix and I'm eating a pan of brownies. Really? This is my life, right? Yeah, there's going to be those times, but that doesn't mean it has to stay that way.
One of the your children were obviously quite young when you got divorced. So I know my children have commented about feeling different at church, feeling like they don't, when the father's camps come up or the those sorts of things. How do you cope with that stuff?
That's a great question. And I think for us, like I had a 5-year-old at the time, and then it went all the way up to a 20-something-year-old. And so we had a big spread, right? Because that was my caboose that I had when I was 46. So we had a big spread. And for me, I really tried to create opportunities for my kids to have connection and friendship with different people in the ward. So we have 3 different couples that are older couples, and they're like semi-grandparents, kind of pseudo parents. So they had a lot of that influence in their lives all the way along. Excuse me. They always had someone they could turn to that was in that sort of a space. And that we always had people who were coming over and helping fix things or do things, and I would have them kind of help. So there was this feeling of, yes, there isn't really a lot of other people in the ward that got divorced, but there was a lot of safety nets that they felt. And I know that my 5-year-old, he really felt it as he got older, like when he got 9, 10, and he was really aware of when he had to go to his dad's and come back. And I was sensitive to that. So I would say, be really aware that it really does matter to them. So even when we did the drop off, he goes to his dad's every other weekend. I chose not to do a place. It was suggested we do a certain place that was very familiar. We would go there very often. And I chose a place that we never went to, that was right off the highway, that was easy to get to, but it just wasn't a place that we went to very much. So it wasn't getting tainted or associated with that. And I also made sure that when he took his stuff to school, I would make sure that it was done in a way that didn't make him feel like he was sticking out like a sore thumb, like he had this big bag, overnight bag, and then people would ask about it. So as much as possible, I would try to make it normal, put it in a sports bag so it just looked like sports stuff and things like that. So really trying to help them not feel like they were sticking out like a sore thumb. And that did help. That helped. There are just times that it's just hard. And I let them cry. And my little guy, I would just have him cry. And I'd be, you know what? That does. It stinks. You got divorced parents and it stinks. It's not fun to go back and forth. But I also see the benefit of the silver lining, I guess is a better way to say, those coping skills that he's been getting since he was 5. These are things that 30-year-olds don't even know how to have and how to use. And I'm seeing him be able to do it. Something you'd never wish on your kids, but as they've gotten those coping skills, they've been able to stand in their space. And like my 11-year-old, he went into middle school, and usually you're a little bit nervous about your kids going from elementary to middle school, because that's a shift, right? And that's when they're starting to really get the popularity thing and the cliques and the groups and the things like that. And I remember I was a little concerned about how that would go and how he would feel. And he came home one day and he said he wasn't hanging out with this group that was popular. And I was like, what's your feeling on that? And he goes, Mom, I'm not a follower. I'm not going to be part of a posse. I know who I am. And I went, wow. So it's working. So again, that's after a lot of hard stuff. So don't think we just skipped A plus B equals C. It was a quadratic equation. There's a lot of meltdowns and slamming doors and a lot of screaming, crying nights and things like that. But it gets better. And they are going to go through hard things. I remember Brooke Romney saying, she put a post on that said, she does a lot with teens. And she said, I get this question all the time. She talks about not having smartphones too early. And she said, the question I get is, but will my kids miss out on stuff if they don't have a smartphone early enough? And she said, yes, they will. And there you are. It's a hard reality and everyone's got one. So this one's yours.
Yeah. That's good. So
All right.
what would you say are some of the challenges? We've talked about the benefits, so share some of the struggles, or maybe there aren't any for you, but you'd be really lucky.
Oh no, there's not that. And you know what? I will speak to that. It isn't luck. It really isn't. It is an intention. And I have gone to the Lord and I have partnered with him and I have said, Heavenly Father, please help me to create a meaningful life. And I think the challenge that I see a lot, I speak at a lot of singles firesides and conferences and things like that. And the challenges that I see, and I have felt also, is not getting into the single vortex that just goes down and down, right? I go to these things and I'll speak and I can pick out those people who are creating a meaningful, joyful life. There's an energy about them, there's a feel about them, and there's a forward movement about them versus the ones that are living quiet desperation. And there's this difference. And my heart breaks because I will go and speak with these, especially these older ladies, and I'll sit next to them and I'm talking to them, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you working on? I'm sure their pacemakers are going off the charts, right? They're just like, I just can't do to get a cookie. But I'm like, what are you doing? And we ended up having one time, we had this one fabulous discussion with these 4 older ladies. And it was so wonderful. It was heartbreaking. She said, I haven't been hugged in 3 years, anyone of the opposite sex, right? And I just, it just breaks your heart. And that's a real thing. Studies show that there is that skin deprivation where you don't have that touch. So this is a thing. And that's where I really do think that finding your purpose just matters so much. You're going to make quicker, more lasting friendships with women. Sorry, that's how it is. Friend to friend, woman to woman, than you will with those men that you're going to meet at these things. And I would just say, I think one of the challenges is do not go to these activities thinking you're going to meet your one and only. It just won't happen. Now you're probably going to get letters saying 0.001%. Hey, I met mine and I'm so happy for you. But what I see is that people come and they have that hope, that desperate hope of, I'm going to meet him here. And then by the end of the night, they're like, I didn't meet him. And then they're like, they start losing hope of their lives having meaning. And it's just, that's a challenge. So I would combat that, encourage people to combat that with remembering that you have a divine destiny, as President Thomas S. Monson said, and you have a purpose to fulfill and you have things to do. So I think a challenge is still finding the purpose and the meaning to thrive beyond divorce. So I think that's a challenge. Another challenge that I see is that people isolate. And I did that for a little bit because it just felt so good. I love my bed. And so I would get under my covers and I would read a great book and have a yummy snack that I don't usually have. And I'm like, I'm in heaven. And I really did. It's a dangerous place because you can get really comfortable in that place. And you'd be like, go to a singles dance, comfortable under my duvet, right? Oh, it's really a no-brainer, honestly. So that is a challenge. And I actually got to a place where I could feel the nudge from Heavenly Father that he was saying, I want you to get out there. And I was like, but then the baby steps, right? There's a challenge of just, I'm going to go out and have this moment now, or I'm going to get online on the sites and I'm going to meet somebody, right? And I recommend, no, don't do that. Live your life. So get out there. And for me, it was baby steps of just go to Costco and actually dress, like not in my sweats, my joggers, but dress. And then don't just look down at my grocery list, but look up, smile at people, be aware, be attentive. I was just driving back from where we were tonight. I was driving back and this guy, I let him go ahead and go. He was in a truck and I let him go ahead and take a turn. And he waved to me and then he blew me a kiss. And I was paying attention and I just smiled at it. It was so fun. Like not my one and only people, but that's what I'm talking about. Living. I encourage you. The challenge is that you can get depressed or you can get isolated or you can get stuck in your groove. And I say, break out of that. Go live your life. I'm going on this hiking thing with a bunch of singles, and I'm not thinking I'm going to find my one and only in the Red Rocks of St. George, right? Wherever. I'm going to go and enjoy. And guess what I know I'm going to do? I'm going to make some really good friendships because that's what happens every time you do one of those things. I just went salsa dancing last Friday night. I'm just saying the challenge is, again, looking at your life as single, and it's only got purpose if I meet this person. And instead, I would say, create this life. Take advantage of this time you have to dig deep and become and flourish and try those things, do those things, and embrace this time that you have, no matter how long it may be, and really feel the joy of it. Because what I say this to people all the time, what if you met your guy tomorrow? Things are going to change. You're going to probably blend families and you're not going to have your workout schedule like you like it. And he's going to annoy you and all of these things. And you're going to say, man, I remember that single life when I could go and get my dinner that I wanted. I didn't have to cook for you. So enjoy it. That's what I would
I
say.
love that point. I love that point of thinking of it that way, because yeah, it is true. Yeah, and I also can totally relate to the hug thing, especially because I do not have any family, or I'm the only one when I moved here to Arizona. So I never turn down a hug. I don't care who it is.
Oh my heck, yes. And I have an 11-year-old and he's super huggy, but now middle school. And
Yeah.
he still hugs me, but it's I gotta ask, or he's gotta be that thing for him.
Yeah, and he's
I want to
guys.
hug.
Oh, mom.
Oh yeah, and I can see this time is dwindling. I'm super careful with that because I don't want him to ever feel like he has to be my hug fest. But you're right. And I think that's where that connection with women is so important. We're so wired as women for that kind of connection, just that maternal touch. But I'll tell you one thing that helped me so much over the last 6 years. There is an aesthetic school that's nearby, and that means that they do it really discounted. And I would go, they had this special wrap. It was like a detox wrap. And I would go, and it was like $45. But then on Black Friday, you could get a whole bunch ahead of time, and it would be for 50% off. So I'd actually get it for $20, $25. And I would work like a dog all week long for me to go for this 1 hour spa service. And they'd wrap me up, and then they would massage my feet and my hands and my scalp. And it's just this maternal kind of healthy healing touch. Oh my word, every single week. And I promise you, I swear that's why I just was able to do so well, because I was getting that all the time. Just that loving touch, healing touch that was just
I was just gonna say that because I pay a monthly subscription so I can go get regular massages, because it's so important. It really does make a difference. I encourage my single son, he's 22. I'm always like, you need to go in and get massages because you need that.
Yes.
And
Kay,
what do you do, Kay?
You have a good frame of mind.
Yeah. How about you, Kay? How do you cover that?
Of course, I've got lots of grandchildren, and my little 2-year-old grandson, he just goes, no, which is absolutely delightful to see him coming like that. It really does make my heart like, somebody loves me. And even he's getting a little bit, but he used to have trouble going to sleep, and his mum would he doesn't go to sleep. I'd go around to their house and sit on the couch with him, and he would literally cuddle up to me and fall asleep. And it was just, yeah. And so, yeah, he's getting big. I got another grandchild due later this year, so I should get some more hugs out of that. But
training them up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because once they get, I find even 6 or so, they're going, no.
They're like, I'm good. Peace out.
Yeah. But it sounds like, I should do the massage stuff that you guys suggest too.
Yeah. It does make a difference. That and my dog. You have a dog.
I have a dog, yes. And my dog cuddles up to me in bed. I grew up on a farm where dogs slept outside, and dogs were like work dogs. Now I have a dog that literally sleeps right beside me. And do you remember when you had little kids and they would often sleep beside you, on top of you, and it give me some space?
Yes.
Now I actually like putting my hand out and feeling him there beside me. And it's just like when the kids were little. It was like to just know. And even though he doesn't talk much, it's still a live being in your home. It's still, and if somebody you're responsible for, something like he does rely on you and talk to you. So I find him very useful.
Yeah.
I think you bring up a great point. We have a cat. We just got another cat, and I will only have 2 cats. I don't want to be that cat lady. It's more that emotional support for my sweet son. And the other one goes to my daughter and likes the daughter. But it really is having someone to come home to, quote unquote, that you walk in the door and they come up and they go on your leg, like come up next to you, and they're like, oh, someone's happy to see me. I have someone to check in with. Now, I still have my 11-year-old, so it's not like I haven't had a lot of nights where I've been completely alone. And sometimes I'm like, everybody out, right? I just need to be alone. But I'm getting more.
You're still in that stage, huh?
Yeah, but I'm getting more of those now. And I can feel that there is a very real singleness feeling. I remember the first time that I really felt like I was home by myself, and my other girls, I think they were like girls camp or something or whatever. They were all gone for a weekend. Everyone was gone. And I was like, you could hear the creak in the house. You could hear you know what I mean? It was just all of a sudden, I feel single, right? And I've got like my bear spray in my drawer next to me and my nightstand. It was just this different feel of, okay, yes, that's what it feels like. But I will say, back to that point of sometimes we can get so in our singleness that we're not open to really to staying open to someone, and that we can get either afraid or avoidant or, oh, it doesn't matter to me, when it actually does. And we're not putting out the effort to still open up to somebody and to friendships with men, or even just open to go on dates and things like that. And so I do think that's another challenge is you go through the roller coaster, right? I'm on the online apps. I'm off. I'm not ever going back on. Okay, I'm going to go to a dance or a fireside. Okay, I'm never going back. It's this sort of a cycle thing. And I think it's good to stay in the game. It's good to whatever, if you need to take a break, great, but just keep your heart open and stay in the game. Because I think it's easy to get to a place where you keep it a little bit closed and it gets harder and harder to stay open. That's just my thought.
Yeah, I think that's good. One of the things I struggle with is, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I was in my career, my profession, I worked with mostly men, and I had so many good, close friendships with the men that I worked with through all my career. So now that I'm coaching from home and I'm alone, I really miss just having the camaraderie of a male friend. And I feel like they are uneasy with, you can't just be a friend. I don't know. Tell me what your thoughts are on that.
No, and I think that's great that you bring that up, because people can say, oh, that's ridiculous. It shouldn't be that way. It is that way. And I noticed even at church, there were a couple of gentlemen, brethren, that we got along, we bantered, we laughed, blah, blah, blah. But I noticed once I was divorced, we were still talking the same way, and their wives were just giving me that look. Now they knew there was nothing, but I think it's just internal for women, for wives to be like, she's single. I'm like, yeah, mother of 7. Hello. Did you not read the bio? But I could see that. And I had to pull it back and tone it down. And you can stand on that all day long and say, no, I don't have to change that. Yeah, you do. Because that's just respectful to the women to a certain degree. Like there are some women who are just going to be themselves. They're just going to be like that. And that's all there is to it. You're not doing anything wrong. But I really do think you have to be careful. I am careful in my conversations with men. I'm careful about, I was going to take the 11-year-olds to go to a temple trip just because I was taking my bride, and I was just going to watch while he goes in. I said, well, if you want to take some buddies, and I'm like, well, they got like 10 in the deacon's quorum. I'm like, okay, we could put on there. But I went to the bishop member and said, are you okay with that if I take kids in the car? I just am super careful, because you can't be too careful. And I'm vice president of the NSA Mountain West chapter, a lot of men. The president-elect is a man, and the president right now is a man. There's only 2 women that are in this executive board, and I have to be careful. One of them, him and I, we just banter like a house on fire, but I have to be careful, especially when his wife is around. I'm very respectful and careful of that. And when I talk about that, I'll say, oh, I just so adore you and your wife, or I so appreciate you and your wife and your family. And any text, anything I'm sending, I'm saying something like that to make sure that it's clear I'm focused on their family and that I am a colleague. So I think you're smart.
And then there's the other element of just going to a singles activity and just wanting friendships, like not just because I talk to you doesn't mean I want to date you. You know what I mean? Like there is that tension, and it would be, I don't know how to get rid of it, but it would be so nice not to have that and to just build a sense of community.
Yes. And I think for that, okay, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I had to learn early on to be kindly candid. That's what I call it, because there are the hoverers, and they'll just keep standing, and then they just keep hanging on you. And you have to say, it is a kindness to say, I appreciate that you are wanting to connect, but I'm just letting you know there's not anything here in the cards. So I really appreciate it. I'm talking with my friend right now, and I'm sure there's other people who would love to have more of your time tonight, but thank you so much. That's really sweet, and that's very thoughtful, but that's not what I'm interested in. You're going to have to find those ways to be your big girl self and be able to let them down easy, because being nice is not helpful. Because there are people who, I've had people ask me out right after I got done speaking on the rostrum. I'm standing there saying, people coming up and saying it, asking me out. And I'm like, this is so not appropriate. Just no. So you have to walk that line. And again, you want to be kind, but you've got to be candid. And otherwise, you're just going to be avoidant, or you're going to be putting up pricklers all the time. So you've got to be able to be your confident self. And this is just my opinion. Be your confident self and just be able to say, yes, I would love to. Or you know what? You're welcome to email me. That's how I connect with people. You're welcome to email me. And that just weeds out a lot of people right there. Email you, right? Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. But it is so uncomfortable, and you just want to talk to people and get to know them. But there's always that 20% that are like, I know you know what I'm talking about. You go on one date and literally they're like, and let's set the date. And you're like, really no, like you got to have those hard conversations in the kindest way, but you got to have it. Even if they're not happy with it, you got to have it, because it's just, that's being a single adult.
Yeah.
And what would you suggest for the males? Because I always feel very sorry for the males, because they are out looking for wives,
Yes.
but they don't want to offend, but they are looking at potential.
They absolutely are. That's been my experience. They're not looking for friendship at all. I just think that's just like, that's a unicorn, right? They're not looking for that in my experience and talking to other women and my own personal experience. But
then the men feel it the other way, that the women are all over them. And so they're like, how do I just get to know people?
yes,
To even know who's the right person to ask out without feeling like everybody's, hey, there's a single male at this event, let's all attack him.
yes. It's like a carcass on the savannah. They just all go, whoa.
Because the percentages, I don't know, Connie, it might be really different in Utah, but where like in Arizona and where in Australia, the ratios are, what would you say, Kay, 20-1 men?
Yeah.
One man
easy.
to 20 women,
Yeah.
kind of
It's
at
that
single
Isaiah
activities.
scripture. It's that Isaiah scripture where it says seven women to one man, and just give me your name. I do hear what you're saying about for the males. And I have seen this one man who did a great job with this. I thought he just was phenomenal about it. He very early on, I watched him, and he would gather the women. He would create like a circle of women, of them connecting with each other, and even went to the point of creating a Facebook group for women, the single women, so that they could get to know each other. And he just made it clear that he is just a friend, and he was helping everybody to be able to do that. Now, of course, that only made the women want to seek after him more. And actually, one of my friends is actually dating him now. And it was so hard. Like, even at the dance, they had to be super careful because so many girls liked him. But I watched how he did that, and I thought, that's genius. That's genius. Because then he took the focus off of him and just helped create this for the women. But then he could get to know the women and really knew what they were like. So for men in general, I would say, put yourself in a service or volunteer position at the firesides, at the conferences, because then you get to know women and you know what they're really like and what behind the scenes, who they are. But then you're in this position, so you have this buffer that you can be like, you know what, I'm just in leadership or whatever, and you can use that. I do that as well, where I'm like, I'm in leadership. I don't date. Like, I have a rental, and the renter was a single guy, moved in, and he asked me out to go to dinner. And I said, you know what? I don't mix personal and professional. And I had to set that right from the beginning. So you can create these buffers that help you still be able to make friends and make it clear without it being. And I find that if you organize an event, volunteer an event, lead out an event, that helps you have a natural buffer.
Interesting.
Sounds good. All
Yeah.
right.
Good advice.
All right. So single and going to the temple, what's that feel like? How's that work?
I love it. I know. I love it. The temple saved me during that whole experience. And then the last 6 years just saved me for the last 20. But the last 6 years, especially, the most tender, most beautiful experiences that I've had in my life have happened there. And I would say to singles listening who are ready to throw a hymn book at this podcast and be like, if she says one more positive thing, I'm going to dry heave. But I'm not kidding. When you go to the temple and you listen, especially with changes that have been made recently in the last couple of years, when you listen for those promises, I cling to those promises, and it is my space and my place for me to connect with Heavenly Father and the Savior. And it is glorious. I love it. That being said, I have had a hard time going and doing ceilings. You just feel like the sore thumb. Like, I walk in and it's like all eyes go, shoo, and it's just you. And you're like, hey, howdy, hey. And it just, every time you're saying the words of that ceiling, you're just like, okay, knife in the heart. And it can feel that same way with the endowment, but it doesn't to me. I don't know. I look at those blessings and I keep thinking of who I eventually want to be with. And I will say, in a very careful way, when you listen to those ordinances and you realize what blessings are promised to a husband and wife and how you're going to receive those, it helps you to know what to look for when you're dating. And I like, when I'm with someone, I want to see how they problem solve. I want to see how they handle adjustments, how they handle difficulties. I want to see how they're doing this, because him and I are going to be eternal companions, and we're going to be doing a lot of stuff together in the eternities. I want to see how he does that and how he looks at me as a partner or as a co-creator or whatever, a project or whatever. Is he listening to me? Is it back and forth reciprocal of listening and taking advice or adding suggestions or whatever? Or am I being shut down or not listened to or not respected or whatever? So I actually think the temple is a really great place for single people to really see what's the ideal in how you're going to partner with someone for now and the future.
because I've always been single at the temple. Like I've never had a partner that I went to because I got my endowment at the tail end of just when I was starting through the divorce process. But so I didn't really have a concept of going to the temple without that in my mind, And I've never been sealed, but I had the thing about going to sealings, and I asked my son when he was down here last time in Arizona if he would go with me. And it was lovely just that he would do that for me. But the other thing is just a few days ago, I had this most profound experience. What you're talking about, there's a part in the endowment where they're specifically speaking to men. And I just had this overwhelming feeling of this helps so much define our roles and responsibilities and how important those covenants are. And I've never in my life thought of it that way or felt that way, but I did just it was an awesome feeling, an overwhelming feeling for me, because like I said, I've never really experienced that in the temple, but.
I love that. You would think that it could make you feel the opposite, but it hasn't. It has really cemented and anchored my feelings about men and women working together and how important it is to be with someone who feels that same way, right? Who really loves the Lord and wants to let God prevail the thing and really feels that same way. And then I have fun couples that I see there all the time that I love and adore. And to see them and the way that they are attending the temple and working in the temple together, it's goals. It's just so good. And then the peace. You cannot, I could not be single without the temple. The peace, the calm, the clarity, the support, the feeling of whatever it is, you're just buoyed and it's all going to be okay. And everything is just as it should be. And it's just fine. And divine help surrounding you. Oh, I just can't go a week without it. I really can't. It is a happy addiction for me. I don't know if that's a bad way to say that, but it's a happy thing that I look forward to. It's a treat. It's so fun.
Connie, you're so inspiring. You make me I need to go get a massage. I need to attend the temple more. I need to have my social group. I need to get that all organized more. So it's been really fun. I hope others get inspired by the fact that, as single people, we can have not just thrive, but on your version, it's actually better life. We can really enjoy our life. Is there anything else you'd like to add or?
I think just, again, going back to that purpose, and I really do feel the other thing I wanted to share was read the book more every day. So I know that's a little slice in there. If you need to edit out, no problem. But I'm just saying, book them every day, every day. I don't miss a day, every day, same thing. That is an anchor point, and it has saved my bacon so many times. But I think back to that purpose thing.
Hey, really quick, when you read the Book of Mormon, do you have a process? Do you set an intention before? How do you do that?
I do a couple of different things. I read the Book of Mormon every year from start to finish, just to read it through, because I like that, just being able to read it through all the way through. But then I like to study it by topic for myself. So I do leadership concepts or women in the scriptures or purpose, looking through it and saying who had purpose. And then I teach women how to speak and write and things like that. So I'll go through and say, who is a good speaker? What made them a good speaker? How did they craft that message? What was it that made them so powerful? And they're talking about in Ether 12, our writing is not mighty like other people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, your writing is amazing. But that's that kind of thing where you find whatever's meaningful to you in your life, you'll find it in the Book of Mormon. And President Eyring says, any problem you have, you will find the solution in the Book of Mormon. It won't say it spelled out in your alphabets, but I can tell you there were a couple of years, 2 years, when I was going through my divorce, Isaiah rocked. I was getting my answers in Isaiah. Now I read it and I'm back to normal, but it was just plain as day. And I totally understand what Nephi said. And it was answers just like that. So that I would say, whatever, even the topical guide. I remember being in the temple one time, and this kind of sacred experience, but I was at the temple and it was proto temple, and usually it's all wrapped around for initiatories and waiting on the benches, but there was only like 3 people there. So I was just open to the scriptures, and I remember just feeling like I'm always about learning and whatever. And I was like, I don't want to learn today. I just want comfort. So I looked up comfort. It had been a hard day and I'd been bearing a lot of burdens. And so I looked up comfort in the topical guide, and I love doing something like that. And then reading scriptures that are in there. And I opened up to this one, and it just said, I am he that comforteth thee. And right then I felt this tap on my knee, and I look up, and there's my friend of almost like 30 years. And she had moved to a different city, and she's looking at me like, what are you doing here? And I just went, oh, and I just threw my arms around her neck and just started sobbing. I could tell that's what he was saying to me. Sorry, was that I'm here. I'm going to comfort you. And that's the power of the scriptures. You open that up, and he can guide you. He can bless you. He can do something with you. So just open it up. My little guy reads 5 verses a day. That's it. But he is getting that protection, that power that President Benson is talking about. And as singles, we need that. That would be that thought there. The last thought that I wanted to share, if it's of interest to your people that are listening, to your listeners, I do have a free little Find Your Purpose challenge, and there's no strings attached or anything. It's just short videos and a little mini workbook. And if you're like, I don't know what my purpose is, I'm just feeling lost and just foraging in the fridge, then you can do it. You can have it. Go. Find your purpose and start working it with Heavenly Father and the Savior. And I promise you, if you start that flywheel going, you'll be amazed at what the Lord's prepared. Ether 12, is it 26? I don't know, but he says in his Son, he has prepared a more excellent way. And he really has. He's got so much that he wants to offer you, and he's got prepared for you. You don't have to sit at home with the TV dinner, i.e. binging Netflix. You can have this beautiful, wonderful life. I promise you, I am a witness of that. And if you just start taking those baby steps in with that intention, he can work with it, and you will be amazed at where he takes you.
Yeah. I love
Wow, that's fantastic. Yes, we'd love that, because there is so many people going, what is my purpose? And especially I find it at my stage of life, where my husband died and my youngest child turned 18 basically at the same time. And so I had the double whammy of no husband and the children left home. And it was like, whoa. And I'm like you, my last baby was born when I was 45. So I had raised children from 18 to 45. And now I was like, what do I do now? And I know that's a question that a lot of people are asking, because I guess many of us have been mothers for a long time, and that was our purpose.
Yes.
And now as the kids have got older, although we're still mothers, then they've got their families and those sorts of things. So and yet I'm young and fit, and I've still got plenty of years left.
And rocking it. Exactly. Yeah. And you're just shifting a gear, right? You're just shifting a gear.
Yeah, Connie, I think you need to do disciple thought leaders worldwide. That should be your next goal. Don't limit yourself to just the US.
There you go. Yeah, we're gonna have to fly and do some customer research down in Australia.
There you
go.
Under. Kay has a spare bedroom, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can come and check out, and I'll definitely be picking your brains. Yeah. Because it's a question that many people are asking of, what's my purpose now? I could have 20 or 30 years of active life left. And that's a long time. And you think, and I'm definitely not having any more children, because I beat you by 1, Connie. I've got 8 children. So
there you go.
Yeah.
She gets the prize.
I get the prize. Yeah. But yeah, so now what? Now that job's finished.
Yes.
And I don't want to be the full-time grandma. Like, I know some of my friends have taken that on, but I don't know, maybe I've had enough children, but it's fun. It's fun to do some, but I think there's more.
Yes. Yes. And especially that President Nelson is saying, sisters, step up and speak up, right? We are helping to hasten the work. And there is a role for all of us to play if we want it. And I just love how you said that. I've got a good 20, 30 years ahead. That's right. And when you don't have a purpose, that's long. That feels so long. But when you tap into that purpose, it's energizing and it's enlivening, and you start getting this vision and you start seeing your place in things and going, oh, I could do this and I could do that. And then you're connecting with all these people. And before you know it, you're meeting people and traveling and all these fun things are becoming. And you go, I don't have enough hours in the day to do these cool things that I want to do. That's living.
Yeah.
Sounds fantastic. Thank you so much, Connie, for talking to us and sharing your enthusiasm for life with us. That sounds like thriving to me.
You were so great. Thanks so much for inviting me. It's been a joy.
Yes, and we will make sure and I'll get your favorite links, because I know we have lots of ways we can reach out to you, but we'll make sure and put those and a link to the BYU Life After Divorce Conference too, so that if people want to attend that, they can go to that too.
We are just here to help and encourage and uplift and get you doing the things that the Lord wants you to do.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you very much, Connie.
Thank you, Connie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.